Hi, welcome to Matters of the Heart and Soul. I'm your host, Janie Charlo. Matters of the Heart and Soul is a podcast to raise awareness and awaken humanity to all that is within. We want to be a beacon of light on your life journey. Hi, welcome to Matters of the Heart and Soul podcast. I am Janie, your host, and I am co-hosting with Russell Bruce today.
Hey everybody, how you doing out there?
So today's podcast, we're actually speaking with Vaughn Showell. He is actually COVID-19 positive, and he is on the back end of it. So I guess it's safe to say that you're kind of a survivor, right, Vaughn?
So far, so good, yeah.
Yeah. So we really appreciate you taking this time to talk to us and also just the rest of the world because, we want to put out some positive messages about this and to kind of stump out the fear about everything. So welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so let's get into it. Vaughn Showell is a CEO, financial planner to amateur as well as professional athletes and families and corporations. He is also an 8th grade basketball coach at Atlanta International School. He's a father to 4 young men. His youngest son is currently a football player at University or Georgia Tech University. And he's a personal dear friend of mine. Vaughn and I met a little over, say, 15, 16 years ago in Brazil, of all places, and found out we were pretty much neighbors, and we've been the greatest of friends since then. And like Janie introduced him, stating that he was COVID-19 positive, caught us all off guard. I actually called Vaughn days ago, just to chop it up with him to find out that he was in the hospital. And that's when I first got wind of it. But thank God he's here today. He's doing pretty well, and we would love for you guys to hear his story. So, Vaughn, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, brother. Thanks for that gracious introduction. You and Janie doing a great job here. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Okay, first of all, tell us, how are you doing, man?
Yeah.
Today is a good day. Since I've been back from the hospital on Monday, my days have been good. And today is a good day. I would say I'm probably 90, 96, 97%. And I say that because my energy level is up. My appetite is back. I still get a couple heat, what do you call it? I get heat flashes, hot flashes every so often. But for the most part, I feel pretty good, though.
All right, good stuff. So let's go back to the chain of events. What initially happened or transpired that led to you going to the hospital?
Well, what led me going to the hospital? When all this started, I had a fever. Back about 2 weeks ago, I had a fever, and didn't think much of it. Thought maybe I had the flu, just a bug, and I'll fight through it. And as the days went on, the whole coronavirus pandemic and the paranoia about it, I got to thinking, like, do I have it? But I didn't have any symptoms. All the symptoms that they were talking about didn't appear to match my my makeup. So I was like, well, okay, whatever it is, I'll just fight through it. So a week went on of me being in bed and having fevers and body aches at night and just being weak and doing a lot of sleeping. And 3 days I was getting messages on Facebook about how to handle, the coronavirus, how to treat it, how to kill the virus before it gets into your lungs. So I was doing a lot of those home remedies, which is the steam, the lemon, the ginger, doing that, cleaning your sinuses out. I was doing all that, and 'cause I have bad sinuses as it is, I have allergies um, in general. So in doing all those home remedies, it was working, and I was feeling, by the end of the week, I was feeling relatively good. Like on that Monday when I woke up, I felt good that Monday, but when I took a deep breath, I felt just a discomfort in my chest. Nothing painful or nothing. It was just different. And that right there made me call my the VA clinic. As a veteran, I use the VA as my medical services, and this was when I called on a Saturday, and the clinic was closed. But then I called back on a Monday, and the questions that they asked me, out of 20 of them, I answered yes to one of them on Saturday, and then on Monday the same thing, where I didn't have a lot of symptoms, but they were like, well, since you feel like you've got this sort of chest issue, just go to the ER. So I'm like, well, I need to go to the ER. Like, I can't fight this anymore. Like, I don't know what this is. Like, this is, from what I'm hearing, is that, this virus gets into your lungs and into your chest, and then, there's no cure. So I was really, on high alert at that point.
So that first week, before you went to the emergency room, you would say for the entire week, like the 7 days, you had a fever on and off for 7 days.
Yeah, my temperature was fluctuating on and off for 7 days at night. And when I would take my temperatures, that may be 100, 99, 100. Nothing crazy.
Which is different from the flu. Like, I want people to know that is different from the flu, because typically influenza, you spike that fever the first 48, 72 hours, and then you cut the fever and it's gone. So that's very different, because for any fever on and off for 7 days is an alarm. Let me ask you, were you taking fever reducers such as Tylenol or ibuprofen as well?
You know what? I was taking ibuprofen for my body aches, for a fever reducer. I wasn't taking any Tylenol. I didn't take any Tylenol. I didn't. I was taking ibuprofen.
And would you say just at night when it hit you, or were you taking it throughout the day these 7 days? Or because another good thing about your story is that you beat this, and so people that are getting symptoms, it's a good idea for them to kind of know exactly what you did, because you didn't have the typical shortness of breath and where it got deep into the pneumonia, where the pneumonia mucus set in. So
right.
Were you taking ibuprofen throughout the day, or just at night when you had the body aches?
I would just take it at night, and as far as the ibuprofen, or in the morning when I would wake and I'd be laying in the ibuprofen for the body aches. But I didn't think about taking any fever reducer, because I didn't have like a typical fever. It was coming and going, and I didn't really think much of taking a fever reducer.
Yeah, which ibuprofen would do that
Okay.
for you. And then that first week, were you up, or did you have enough energy to kind of like check emails, or were you pretty much in like laying low that whole first week?
Oh, I was out. I was in bed the whole first week. I couldn't do any normal activities. I just felt bad. I mean, I felt lethargic. And just like I just wanted to sleep it off. I did a lot of sleeping. I can't do no real activity. Watch TV and just trying to figure out what's going on with me.
Let me ask you a question. Do you attribute the fact that you were successful in fighting this to a lot of the combination of the home remedies and the over-the-counter medication that you were taking during that time? Like, do you feel that contributed a lot to your success?
What I feel contributed to the success is number one, I've been in very good shape. I've been working out really for the past 4 or 5 months and I've been at my peak when it comes to my physical fitness. So I think my physical fitness, along with the remedies that people were sharing on Facebook, and Angela being here, my girl, to help me when I was feeling bad. Those three combinations helped me, I think, fight through the virus, to be quite honest.
Yeah. Um, and Vaughn, that first week, were you doing those remedies like the hot steam and everything, or did that not kick in until after you went to the emergency room?
No, so I was doing that before I went to the emergency room because those
Okay.
remedies made me feel good. 2 days leading up to going to the emergency room, my sinuses were cleared up, my head was clear, and I was feeling good. Um,
Okay.
and the only thing that triggered me to go to the ER was my chest. When I took a deep breath, that's what triggered me to go to the ER. But and then I had a fever, and we having a fever by the time I got to the ER at a 101.9 temperature.
Wow. So that's something to know. So you're well into like day eight, and still have a fever. So that is alarming. And then on top of that, at this point, you started to have some discomfort with deep breaths.
Correct.
Okay. And so then you just decide, I'm gonna go ahead. What was the other than anything else triggered you to go into the emergency room other than the deep breaths and still the fever? Did you ever think, why am I still having a fever at 7 days, 8 days?
I did, and the thought was, part of me was thinking, well, is this the coronavirus? Like, is this, fever is one of the symptoms, and I'm like, well, I think my body's fighting it. If I have it, my body's fighting it. That's what I'm thinking to myself, you know?
Yeah.
hmm
How much do you attribute the fact that you stayed positive and you didn't allow fear to take over? Because like even when we initially spoke, I definitely didn't want to mention the virus, and I noticed you didn't either. And, just wanted to tell you you'd be okay. And it seemed like you were very positive about everything.
Yeah,
Do you feel keeping a positive attitude helped as well?
yeah. I think that positivity goes a long way. And one thing I was doing is I was even playing some music because being in bed for so long, and listening to the news was kind of demoralizing. But when your spirits are positive and your energy is positive, you tend to overcome a lot of things. And I think that positive energy that I had definitely helps the psyche, and it keeps you from going into a depression or into a place where your body can feed off of that negative energy, and it just makes it worse. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does.
I think the whole positive mental aspect um, is just not just beneficial just on a regular basis, but when it comes even to medicine, because they say music is what medicine for the mind, for the body, right? When you're sick, and uh,
Yeah.
so the music I was playing Earth, Wind and Fire one morning, and I was playing things and just getting those positive endorphins moving in my body, and
Yeah. Absolutely.
and it
So,
works. It really works.
It really does. So Vaughn, now walk us through your emergency room visit. So at this point, you've decided to go ahead and head to the emergency room. What was your drive like? What were you thinking on the way to the emergency room? Did you go alone? Did you have support? Like, walk us through that part.
Well, let me tell you, as a veteran, um, and in my travels in life, I think one thing I pride myself on is being able to navigate through challenges in life and problem solve and have no fear when it comes to just things in the corporate world or the social world. Because as a veteran, I faced death once in my life as a veteran, as a Desert Storm veteran. And I recall when I was in Desert Storm out in the desert, at the age of 24, 25 years old, that I was going to die in war. And that was the first fear I've ever had of death. And
Wow.
and I can honestly say that, this drive to the hospital amidst all of this hoopla going on and this pandemonium, just so many things are going through my head as far as going into this hospital, knowing there's no cure, knowing I'm going into an environment where people are sick, not knowing if I'll see my children again, people in the hospital dying because they're quarantined. You name it, just a whole plethora of things are going through my head, but I knew that I had to go because of my breathing had me
Mm-hmm.
going in this direction. So the anxiety that I experienced on Monday driving, texting my mom on the way, then my aunt calling me, and my cousins, and it was pretty traumatic. But I was able to lean on my experience and my faith to know that I've got to do this, and keep the faith, and know that it is what it's going to be, and I'll be in good hands. So and when I walked into the hospital, I parked a good distance from the front door, and I was really low on energy. I got there about 2 o'clock in the
Mm-hmm.
afternoon, and it was drizzling a little bit, and I was walking real slow to the house. I was walking like really slow, and finally made my way into the hospital. They had checkpoints there in the hospital, and they took me right back to this area where coronavirus patients were being seen. And there were maybe four of the people in there, and they were all sitting distance between themselves, about 6 to 8 feet. And I sat down, and they were looking worse off than I was, to be quite honest. So now I'm sitting here in an ER with people who look bad, and then all of a sudden, this one guy starts coughing like the cough of death, and the lady got up, "Are you okay?" And he didn't respond. He coughed again, and she got up from behind the desk, and she's like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "No, I can't breathe." And next thing you know, they whisked him out to the back. They found a room. He must have been waiting for a minute for a room, but at this point, he was like, "I got like." It was crazy. I'm like, I'm actually sitting here in the midst of this virus. So it
Yeah.
was it was pretty. It really tested my will, my faith, and everything else. But I had to plug on.
Yeah. Wow.
How long a wait did you have in the waiting room, as well as like once you were in a room before a doctor could actually see you? Because
Well,
it sounds like it was crowded.
yeah. Well, I waited for about 4 hours to get into a room. Once I got into the room, one thing I could say in a shout out to the VA is that um, the rooms were you could smell the cleanliness in the ER. What they did was, and the reason why I said it took so long was that whenever one person would leave, they would have to clean it down, and it had to be empty for 30 minutes before the next person can come in. And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they
And
had
this is longer. It's two
yeah,
hours.
yeah. So I got back there probably about 9:30. About 9:30, almost 10 o'clock is when I got back into the room. And once I got back there, things moved relatively quickly. They came in, full mask, bodied up, gloves, everything. Um, they were very professional and very helpful, and they did their tests, and they took my blood and did my IV. Um, and they moved really quickly, and I waited for about an hour and a half for my results. So while I was waiting, I was just laying down, just waiting on the results, and just thinking about a whole bunch of things, you know. Yeah.
Sure. So many things went through your mind during that time. Um, so that's good to know that you felt like you were in a very clean environment. That's important, especially when you're sick. It's just, you just want to be in a clean environment as well. As far as you know, did they rule out anything else as far as testing? Did they rule you out for influenza for sure? And did you do any chest X-rays, anything like
Yeah.
that?
So before going back into the room, one thing that was I was pretty adamant about while I was waiting is like, okay, what is this process? What am I waiting for? What is the process? Will I be tested? All these things were going through my head. And the lady up front at the triage, she said, I'm Mr. Triage. I don't have these answers. But
Right.
when you get back there, the doctor will determine whether or not you'll be tested for COVID-19. And, I was getting a little antsy, and I even, me being me, I even called the hospital, and I want to speak to the supervisor to see what's taking me so long to get to the back, and I want to answer as far as the process was. So I'm on the phone with one of the supervisors and the triage nurse is right behind me. And next thing you know, somebody comes out and checks on her, and I didn't get the answers I wanted on the phone, but I turned around and the triage nurse says, "Oh, you pushed some buttons, didn't you?" I said, "Yes, I did." I said, "I just need some answers." Sitting here for 3 hours is just nerve wracking, with no information. So about 3 hours later, I was able to get into the room, and the things that they said they would do to me. Number one was evaluate, see if I had the flu. Number one, they would test me for the flu. Then they did chest X-rays to see what was going on with my chest. But as soon as when the doctor came in to take my vitals, he said, "Take a deep breath." When I took a breath, there was a pain, and he's like, "What's wrong?" He said,
Yeah.
"He said it hurts." I said, "Yeah." He said, "That's asthma." I said, "Asthma?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "Take a deep breath." And I tried to take a deep breath, and it hurt again. He's like, "Yeah." He said, "Well, we'll do the chest X-ray to make sure." I'm like, "I've never had asthma before. Like this is different." So he said, "So we're gonna do the X-ray, check on your chest asthma. We're gonna do the nose swab, the throat swab to do a culture, and we're gonna test for the flu to see if you got the flu." And we'll take it from there. So when he came back, they said, well, you don't have the flu. The cultures came back negative. So we're gonna give you some medication, some antibiotics to treat bacteria, and we're going to send you home. And if you get pulled over by the cops, there's a curfew going on. Just show them medication because there's a curfew going on in the city. I'm like, wow, I didn't realize that. And he said, "We're gonna come in. We're gonna test you for COVID-19." I said,
Okay.
"Okay." So that's the last thing they did before they sent me on was another nose swab, and says someone will call you in 3 to 4 days with the results.
Okay. And then, so as far as you know, you've never been diagnosed with asthma. You've never been told you've had asthma before in your
Correct.
life, right? Okay. So you were sent home, I think you said, with an antibiotic, something for your cough, and then also you said it was an asthma medication. Um, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was azithromycin
Correct.
antibiotic, benzoate, which is also Tessalon pearls, which are small little cough
Correct.
pearls, and also Montelukast, which is also
Correct.
Singulair, which is taken for asthma and allergies. And then you also was sent home on your
Correct.
inhaler,
Yep.
right? All right. So that was the treatment that you had, and you started that right away. Do you feel like this was effective treatment? Do you feel like that antibiotic really helped you? What do you feel worked best to getting that pain out of your chest? Because, and I'm asking these questions because I am a nurse practitioner and I am currently working in capacity with COVID-19, and there's so many things out there as far as treatment. We're seeing a lot of things that probably shouldn't be said. So it's always good to know firsthand from a patient that wants to share their story and their treatment, and what actually helped them. And every patient is different. Immune responses are different. You clearly didn't even have a cough. You just had the fever and the body aches. And then you started to get some chest discomfort. And some people, it goes straight to, difficulty breathing. but I just want to know what you feel actually helped you and how soon did you start the
Well,
medication?
I think the antibiotics, as soon as I was able to get home and take one or two rather, I did. Um, and I honestly think that the antibiotics, when you mention that, is that it's got to have some sort of positive effect on me feeling well because
Mm-hmm.
I've been getting better, been feeling better ever since. The only I guess issues I'm having now is when I haven't worked out in a minute. So I guess when your body's sitting around for a while, whenever you do exert energy, your body is feeling it. So if so
Oh,
if
definitely.
I go up down the stairs, if I'm in the kitchen, I do feel a little stressed. My body feels a little stressed, but when I sit down and relax for a minute, it goes away. Um,
Yeah. And you're still recovering.
right. Okay.
This
Yeah,
is still
that's
very
true.
for
That's
you.
true.
So remember that, just in your healing is just, but the good thing is each day you know that you're improving.
Yeah, yeah, and I gotta really take it slow because sometimes I do move a little too fast because I think I'm feeling better, and even the medications for the asthma, I've used the inhaler pretty much every day because there's times when I take a deep breath
Mm-hmm.
and I say, and I do need it, and once I use the inhaler, it helps. So, and I can tell you that
Yeah,
though today. I have not used my inhaler today, and I'm breathing better today than I was 2 days ago. So the
good.
medications for
That's
the
awesome.
asthma and my inhaler has been working to treat my asthma. But like right now, like I'm feeling good. I'm thinking I can probably do away with the asthma with the inhaler probably in the next day or two. You know.
Yeah. And inhalers are bronchodilators, so they typically dilate the bronchioles. And in situations where you're in a respiratory distress, those bronchioles become inflamed, and sometimes they fill with mucus or fluid, such as in pneumonia. And so it's hard to
Hmm.
get air in and out. So that inhaler works immediately at dilating, opening up those bronchioles for air to flow in and out. And you'll probably notice that it
It
works
does.
right
Yeah.
away for
Yep.
you.
Let me ask you a question. Maybe being that you're a nurse practitioner, how important is it for like whether you're positive or negative is water and diet in reference to the mucus that could possibly build in the lung?
It's extremely important. Just like Vaughn said, the 6 months prior to this, he was at the best shape of his life. So his immune system was great. He's been eating healthy. He's been working out. He's been exercising. He sounds like he's in high mental state, really positive energy, good vibes, stuff like that. So all of that plays a part in fighting illness, all of it.
Mm.
Good stuff.
Yeah, all of it plays a part. That's why this issue is much worse on people with secondary issues or chronic issues going on, such as asthma, heart issues, and all these other issues, because there's already a pre-existing condition already.
Mm.
So it plays big time, and we really have to focus on nutrition that is mucusless forming, or don't form so much mucus as
Mm.
well in our system.
Such as fruits, vegetables, things like that would help
Yeah,
remove it.
fruits and vegetables is the number one that is mucusless and more alkaline for the body. And typically your milk and ice cream and
Cheese.
dairy and cheese, those are more mucus forming. And so you got to think about everything that have those products in it
Mm.
as well. Yeah. So, and I wanted to ask you about your treatment, because even though COVID-19 is a viral infection, what we have to look out for is the secondary bacterial infections that it causes. Pneumonia is another secondary infection that comes from the virus, or your body is trying to respond. It's sending all of different things that we're equipped with to fight these things, but sometimes your immune response goes
Mm,
into overdrive, and that causes an overload of mucus production or overload of inflammation. Because inflammation usually fights infection, but it could be a superimposed overload, and that everything's kind of almost fighting your own
mm,
body in a way. So with you getting that azithromycin, which everybody knows it as Z-Pak, is typically a 6-day course. You take double dose on day one, and then five, one
yep.
tablet the other 5 days. It helps clearly, and if you
Mm,
saw improvement that quickly,
yeah,
that's
I,
great.
I would definitely attribute um, that prescription to my recovery. I really would.
So how long was your stay in the
So
hospital?
my stay in the hospital was probably from 4 to 11. So what, 7 hours?
Okay. So you mostly stayed in the emergency room
Exactly. Yeah, the
department.
ER room department. And initially I thought that they were going to admit me because they said they were not going to send me home with a fever. So that kind of had me paranoid as well, to the fact that I had a 101.9 temperature, um, and they're not going to let me leave until that went down. That was kind of, in the back of my mind. But they gave me an IV, a bag of IV, which once they started giving me the IV, I don't know if I said that earlier, but yeah, I was dehydrated. Um, so the bag of,
Not
yeah, the bag of, uh-huh.
didn't. So that's good. You get some
Say it again.
fluids. Good. You did get
Yeah,
some IV
yeah,
fluids
and that helped
while you were
immediately
there.
as well. So
Okay.
as that was going into me, I was feeling better as well. So I didn't realize how dehydrated I was because, I'm in here drinking as much as I think I should, but when they did the urine sample, it was pretty yellow. So dehydration. So
Yeah.
so once the bag was in me, that reduced my fever obviously probably pretty quickly, and I felt better when I left the ER about 11 o'clock that night.
Yeah. And even if you were taking in a lot of fluids, remember you
Right.
were
That's
sweating
true.
fever each night. So you were letting a lot of fluids right back out, even if you were
Hmm.
taking some
Hmm.
in. So, did you feel when you left after 7 hours, did you feel like, okay, this is good treatment? Do you feel like, am I just going home to, what was your thoughts at that time? Did you feel like, all right, I think I'm gonna be fine? Did you feel like your issues were taken care of? How did you feel
Well,
leaving?
physically, I felt better. I was walking more briskly when I left. My state of mind
Okay.
was even more so in paranoia kind of, because when I got my car and I drove, there were no cars on the road. It was 11 o'clock at night in a city, it looked like a ghost town. So that kind of brought more anxiety. It's really, really serious. Like the city is shut down. I'm driving through downtown Atlanta, and all you see a cop that's on the side. I'm like, I'm leaving the hospital. I've been tested for COVID-19. I don't know if I have it or not, and I'm going home. Like, where am I going now? Like, what does this lead to? So there's still a lot of questions um, in my head um, with where I am, because the fact that I just took the COVID-19 test meant that, like you said, I don't have the flu. I don't have um, any other a throat infection or anything else. Is like, okay, so what was wrong with you?
All right, Vaughn. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened, but you were actually in the middle of telling us about your ride home.
Right. So I was saying, as I was headed home, there's a curfew obviously in Atlanta, and the ride home through the city of Atlanta, and when it was just like a ghost town. Um, so I'm leaving the hospital, just got finished taking this COVID-19 test, not knowing what the results may be, but just driving home um, through a city that is just on lock just added to the anxiety and the seriousness of what this country is going through. Um, and it's just a really, really gut check, um, knowing that, I'm in the middle of what's really going on, So it's a lot of, a little bit of anxiety was going through my brain, and knowing I was feeling better than before I entered the hospital was helpful, but just the unknown was pretty scary.
Yeah. And so, do you have other people at home with you? And, were you concerned about their health and quarantined? And how did you handle all that?
Yeah, so I do have a girlfriend and her mother who live here. Her mother is 70 years old. She's a Alzheimer's patient that we're caring for 24/7. And then, Angela, she's been by my side from day one. And, we've been quarantined um, for the past, 7 days, sleeping in separate bedrooms. Up until that point, we weren't. Um, but, the concern is, okay, like, how do we manage this with, three people in the household? So it's been a challenging situation, because her mother is not, needs care 24/7. So, um, and she's taking care of her, and if she gets ill, like how do we really manage all of this? So it's been a moving target at this point.
Right. And so you get home, and how many days does it take before you get your results?
So they said 3 to 4 days. So this is on Monday. So Tuesday goes by, Wednesday goes by, and Thursday goes by. But Thursday night around 10:30, my phone rings, and they did say, stand by, because you be getting a call from the CDC with your results. So if the phone rings, please answer it. So of course, for all this time, I'm making sure that the phone's by my side, and if it rings, from a number I don't know, I still got to answer it. Typically, I don't answer unknown numbers, but nevertheless, come Thursday night about 10 o'clock, 10:30, I get a call, and
And
it's a
something
doctor.
said answer it.
Huh?
And something said answer it.
Exactly. It was a number I didn't know. I answered it, and it was a doctor from the VA. It wasn't the CDC. And she said, "This is Dr. So and so from the VA. How are you doing?" And I said, I'm doing fine." She's like, "Any symptoms, any fevers, anything?" I said, "No, everything is okay." She said, "Okay, well, no, but that's good to know. Um, we did get the results back from your COVID-19 test, and the results, but you're doing apparently fine, apparently." I said, "Yeah, I'm doing okay." I said, "My results came back positive." She said, and she said, "Yeah," and I really I don't remember what happened
Right.
after that. All I heard was positive, and I'm like, wow, like positive, like, okay,
Yeah.
okay. But she's like, "But you're doing fine." She's like, Have you, your last fever was when?" I said, When I was at the hospital." So she said, "Well, you've gone 72 hours self quarantine with no symptoms, so you should be okay." And I said, "I should be okay." I was like, "So, well, what's next?" Like, okay,
Hmm.
I'm positive, but like, what's, and she didn't. I really don't remember really what she said
That,
after that. It wasn't anything significant, but she just reassured me that, I'm 72 hours from my last symptoms, and I will be okay.
wow. And then so at that point, you definitely have to tell the people that's in your household that you are positive. So what was that like?
Well, I was in the bedroom with Angela, and I was on speakerphone when the doctor was on the phone with us, so she heard everything. And when I reiterated that I was positive, Angela was right there with me, and we just looked at each other, and so that dialogue wasn't terribly bad. The question that we had was, is she positive? You know,
Right.
um, so no, Angela, she's very receptive to information, and she doesn't overreact at all, really on anything, to be quite honest. But so we just took it in, and then she heard the doctor said, and I heard the doctor said, and we're like, well, if you have it, you have it. She has a few symptoms. Um, One symptom she has is just, she says, has a loss of taste, loss of smell, loss of taste for food. But outside of that, she's had nothing major either, no major symptoms either. But we can only presume that she has the virus as well, and she's been fighting through it also, and to a degree, because she's had minor heat flashes, but no, her she thinks she's going through menopause, but she is going through menopause. So heat flashes and hot flashes and fever. It's just all moving all
Yeah.
together. So um, we're not sure exactly where she is, but it's understandable if she has it. She
Right.
has it, and it's nothing that is earth shattering at this
Right.
point.
Has she had any fever like you did?
You know what? She again, she has these hot flashes, so that hasn't changed. But she hasn't had any fever, no sweat. She's had some sinus issues, um, and a very little body ache, but not many symptoms. Nothing. It's been pretty moderate. So um, so how to handle that? Of course, her mom doesn't know what's really going on. So being that I've been positive, I'm just keep my distance from her mother, and she is caring for her mother like she has to. Feeding whatnot. I mean, it's difficult as to how do you quarantine three people in a household that rely on each other to
Right.
to live. So it's pretty interesting right now.
So, with that said, Vaughn, knowing that you're clear now and possibly, I guess, free from ever catching this thing again, is that true?
Well, that's what I understand. Is that once you have it, you're immune from it. And I think the doctor mentioned something about that, if I recall, about my immune system being I've gone through it, so I can't get it again. But I'm okay. Um, so I'm kind of cloudy on that. But where we are with it, like even Angela asked me, she's like, "Well, at what point are we okay to sleep in the same bed again? At what point are we okay to touch each other again? Like though that's the unknown at this point. Um, um, and as far as her mom, which is she's from the outside looking in, she's okay, but I'm not sure internally what's going on with her because she's really can't express anything, to be quite honest. But um, yeah, I don't know what where the line is drawn, or we can cross the line to get back to some sort of normalcy as a couple.
Right.
Um, but um, me being where I am at this point, I'm presuming that I'm immune from getting it again or having it because I've gone through it. Like I said, I'm about 97% right now, but I think once my energy level gets back up and I don't get any more just hot flash or cold sweat, I think I'm in the clear.
So, what do you feel that this has done for you emotionally and spiritually? How has it changed you?
Um, emotionally and spiritually, it's just really refocused me. has refocused my direction in my relationship that I currently have with Angela, direction with my family, and it's just helped me take even a more closer look as living with my purpose. I pretty much done that on a regular in what I do on a daily basis in my personal, business, and social life. Is I'm all about helping others and making sure others understand that things like this can happen, and we got to be prepared for change.
Mm-hmm.
So this really has just really solidified my mission and what I do on a regular basis, and just giving me more resources and get some more info to continue um, to serve my community.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. Because one of my thing is I just see how there's so many people out there just living in fear. One, because it's unknown and it's somewhat understandable. But
Mm-hmm.
I just think that
Mm-hmm.
people really need to kind of still stay positive and, just surround yourself with the people you love, continue to do the things that you love. Like we both have mutual friends. One who's fighting cancer, and just to see how positive that he stays, like over the last couple of years with chemo and continuing to live
Mm-hmm.
life, it's like
Yep.
living a life. I don't want to put any names out there because I hadn't talked to him, but like
Right.
extremely
Mm-hmm.
positive, and the thing is, I believe that he'll be successful fighting it, and
Mm-hmm.
we have another brother who's facing something that appears to be terminal, but he's still hanging on because they're living life without fear.
Yeah.
And they're
Right.
gonna play into the buzzer sound.
Right. Right. Yeah, and I think you're right. Now, as we mature, as we get older in life, we tend to have our purpose, and we see more of our purpose, and not living in fear and what society wants us to live, but we live how we feel we should be living, regardless of what illnesses we carry, because this is part of life. Illnesses, death. This is all part of life,
It
and
is.
how you set yourself up to handle it and set your family up and your kids is what life is about. I think fear is just an element of selfishness that helps or makes people be selfish, and when you're in a place where you can see the bigger picture and be grounded, you can understand why God puts these things on us. Like I say, He never puts no more than on us than we can handle, right? Um, you know, we say it, we hear it, but when it comes when it's time to when a fat lady sings, sometimes people just can't handle it.
Yeah. My question is I wanted to ask you in this whole process, is there anything you feel that healthcare could have done better, or could you just share what we did great, or just anything that you feel, well, if I had this information, it would have made me feel a little bit better? Anything at all? Anything you just want to share, or anything that stands out in this process as far as on the healthcare side?
Well, definitely, I think, like, I want to give, definitely kudos and shout outs to the VA for the way they've handled the situation, and for all the medical professionals out there, even you, Jay, for doing what you do. As being part of the system, you're only as good as the resources that you're given to handle any situation.
That's true.
Um, so, as boots on the ground, per se, soldiers, you guys are doing an outstanding job. It's just unfortunate that our government will put us in a position where we didn't have the resources available to be notified sooner and to have departments in place to head this off, and before it got to this point. So, politics has gotten involved in our healthcare system that unfortunately has been unprecedented, and hopefully will be fixed from this point on, as a lot of things in our constitution and government needs to be fixed. However, they see the importance of healthcare and how a health system needs to be a priority over
Yeah.
the stock market, over wars, over foreign affairs. It's just hopefully this will really be a huge eye opener to those who can help make a change. But those health professionals, those even who are currently dying, taking care of those, um, it's just an eye-opening experience, and I just pray that our children's can be more prepared than we were for the next event.
Yeah, that's such a great point, and thank you so much for sharing your opinion on that. And I do understand that you're a part of a study with the VA. Is that right in regards to this COVID-19?
Correct. So for the next 14 days, I have a telenurse who will be contacting me and keeping track of my temperature and any issues that I have throughout the every 24-hour period, and she's doing that with quite a few different veterans. And matter of fact, when I spoke with her today, she did mention to me that she asked me if I want to be a part of the study, number one, and then number two, she said, "Well, no, you sound good." She said she's speaking to a lot of the veterans, and they're not doing as well as I am. Obviously, she's like really just like they sound like they're in pretty bad shape, but they're part of it, and this is voluntary. I said, no, I said I want to be a part of it, and whatever I can do to help facilitate change and make the situation better, I'm all for it. So over the next 14 days, I will be monitored throughout my prognosis.
Wow.
Good stuff.
You have anything else, Russell?
Yeah, I think we touched on all the good points, and I think that your story is just a testament to everyone out there, to stay positive, that it's not a death sentence. That the majority of the people, like about 80% of the people, are actually fighting this thing and coming through it. I just think in society, if you're watching the news, they're going to always give you the worst case scenario because that's what sells commercial space, things of that nature. But probably not the best thing for your life. As much as possible, I try not to ever turn the television on, to be honest with you, just because of that. I don't want to feed the fear, because it's no different than like going to Google. Whatever it is that you're looking for, it's going to find you. So if you want to find the fear and the negative in something, if you put that in Google, that's exactly what you're going to get back. And if you want to find the positive, you're going to get that back. So, just always think positive, man. Thank God that you're a very positive person, very giving person, things of that nature. And, I think a lot of things played a hand in your success and defeating this, and a lot of other people out there, stay positive, be a fighter. And I think those early minutes of you finding out, they say that even with cancer patients, the first 15 minutes or so on how they respond to the information is going to determine the majority of, the success or failure in them either healing or being defeated by that disease or diagnosis.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right, Russell.
Vaughn, did you have any last remarks that you just want to share, and just any last messages you just want to get out there about this?
Well, my mission as you and Russ and those who are concerned is, get information out to people and let them know that there is a positive way that stories can end, and by staying positive, anything is possible. And I did a Facebook Live last night. I'm not sure if you guys saw it, not Russ, but
Yeah, we did. Can you share your Facebook information so others can take a look at that?
yeah. So my Facebook page is Vaughn Showell. You can on Facebook. And I did a Facebook Live post last night. Got a lot of feedback, a lot of views and good information, and people are really, really receptive to information that is just genuine, straight, no chaser and not commercialized. And I think that, our media needs to be I would say what needs to be, but the media is set up for its own motive and purpose. But I'm having these platforms like this do so much more good than those that are um, controlled by the dollar, and it's more helpful to people. And I've been feeling phone calls and messages from people for the past 24 hours who are thankful for the information they put out there. It's really eased some of their fears. It's given them knowledge and information as to how to move forward, and it suppressed a lot of the false information out there. So I'm actually going to be on V103 on Monday morning at 8:20 as well, expressing I guess telling my story. So that's another good thing that came out of this. So I just want to continue to share the information, and like Russ said, it's not all doom and gloom when it comes to challenges. And if we could just change our mindset and be, more of a positive PMA, positive mental attitude when it comes to handling life's challenges, the numbers will be in our favor versus not. So I want to thank you guys for having me on your show, being part of the community service that you guys are doing a great job. Keep it up, and let's continue to make a difference one day at a time.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
thank you so much. So this has been an episode of Matters of the Heart and Soul podcast. We just finished talking with Vaughn Showell about his COVID-19 positive testing results. And we just really appreciate your sharing your honesty and just your testimony and your experience from the beginning to the end. And Vaughn, thank you for your service. And I wish you a speedy recovery from this. And we really, really want to thank you so much for just sharing this experience.
It's my pleasure, And again, best of luck to you guys, and continue doing what you guys are doing.
All
All
right.
right. Thanks, Vaughn.
Love you. Take
You're
care,
welcome.
bro.
Thank you, buddy. We'll talk. Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right.